In Michigan, a state Senate committee hearing went completely off the rails when this man, a reported white supremacist and certified gun nut named Avi Rachlin, tried to argue that a bill prohibiting anyone other than security and law enforcement from possessing a firearm on state capitol grounds and legislative office buildings is, you guessed it, discriminatory and racist towards white people.
Now, to the bill itself. This is supposed to be about keeping people safe because people with CPLs are out there committing so much violence in the Capitol and everywhere else. Well, thankfully, the Michigan State Police actually compiles a CPL report every single year. And I can tell you that I have the stats right here, and the crime rate of CPL holders in the state of Michigan is 0.002%. That is half as much as police officers. Now, in terms of specifically in this Capitol, the only documented incident of somebody being shot or killed took place in 1997, by the New York Times cataloged it, when two Michigan State police officers shot and killed each other because one of them, a female, was being bullied because she was fat. I'm not making that up. So that's the only time that quote-unquote gun violence has ever taken place within this building.
While that incident may be the only occurrence of death from gun violence, the bill he's arguing against wasn't just crafted out of thin air to punish Trump supporters like he wants you to believe, but rather in response to very real and credible threats of gun violence that the state legislature was subjected to years ago.
Overnight, tensions mounting in Michigan. Hours after protesters stormed the state capitol, demanding an end to the stay-at-home order, Governor Gretchen Whitmer extended a state of emergency in Michigan for another month, just hours before it was set to expire.
How did they come up with this number of 6 feet? I think they just pulled it out of their rear ends. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's 3.5, maybe it's 8, I don't know. But why 6?
These were the scenes on Michigan Capitol grounds mere months after the state of emergency stay-at-home orders were declared at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I wanted to bring attention to that, so I just wanted to say...
The guns are fine. We are allowed to bring guns. Right. We are allowed to bring them here.
All of this, along with the January 6th Capitol riots, are the key pieces of context Avi deliberately omits to push his bogus, unhinged narrative.
But rather than banning police officers from carrying in the Capitol, we're going to flip it on its head, give them impunity to carry, but ban civilians from carrying the Capitol. And that's just totally ridiculous. It contradicts literally what's happened in history. Now, with respect to what this legislation and who it targets, let's be very clear. This is legislation that targets white people. It is racial because the people who carry in the Capitol are primarily white. People who have CPLs are primarily white, and this is retaliation for the only demographic that overwhelmingly voted to support Donald Trump. And that is why it is being taken out on us, because you don't like us, and that's how it is. If we want to address gun violence, we would be focusing on the people who bring guns into communities and shoot people, like where I live in Detroit and where you represent, Stephanie Chang, which are overwhelmingly 13 to 34-year-old sub-Saharan African. Those are the people who...
Move on.
I am testifying.
Thank you for your testimony. Yep, and I am the chair, and I have gaveled you down. So are there any questions from committee members?
Armed guards remove me? Armed men with guns remove me?
Yep, you heard it right. Avi just used a racial slur during an official committee meeting, and you could tell how pleased he is with himself from that smug, disgusting smile on his face.
Did I just hear you call a group of people by some epithet?
Yes.
And number two, the idea that this is aimed at white people. I know so many different groups from minority communities that are armed, that carry concealed. It's just a ridiculous argument.
Senator Johnson.
The term that you used is inappropriate, and it will not get you anywhere in this legislature.
And he said the N-word. in addition to saying that the only reason we're passing this bill now is that Donald Trump won, and we, in essence, hate white people. And white people are the ones who would like to carry guns in the Capitol.
Democratic Senator Dana Polahanki shared this video on Twitter just after witnessing Avi's testimony.
It was truly disgusting. I hope that our Michigan news outlets write about this. Never thought I'd see the day.
The acknowledgement that everything's okay. There's no way you haven't been in spaces where you hear it. In the Michigan legislature, Chairman Comer, a man, was a minority witness in the Michigan House and used the N-word in such a derogatory word. My own state representative was in tears afterwards, thinking of her child, her beautiful, lovely son, adult son, but just thinking, my God, he thought that it was okay, that he was somehow emboldened to use that word in the People's Capital in Lansing, Michigan. We have a lot of work to do. I just think this is not it. We got to make sure that we're focusing. No, really, we got to make sure that we're putting people in the room. That sometimes we got to make sure they are in the room together, because they're not going to come in the room together unless we require it or urge it to happen, because we know if we do that, then all the services, the way we move as a federal government, will be reflective in a way of leading with that compassion I think that is needed. I just urge us to please just step back and understand that.
Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib called out Avi and the forces that have enabled his bigotry and gave him the confidence to think, saying and thinking something like that is acceptable, while voicing her opposition to a Republican proposed bill that would eliminate all federal DEI programs and offices, which is, of course, by no means a coincidence.
I just know that there's no way you don't know that racism is very clear in these spaces, especially here in an institution that wasn't ready for someone like me. And sure the heck sometimes isn't even ready for the American people, our own neighbors across our country, that will have to be inflicted in coming to get whatever services. God, it's something beautiful if they can look at somebody that is reflective of them and understand their lived experience. And I think we're getting farther away from that. And I know you don't see it, but I'm an attorney. I read this. You're going to allow these protections to fall apart when you do this kind of legislation. You know you will. It'll allow these protections to fall apart because you're going to allow people to get fired solely because you're dismantling, again, a policy and a process of creating a culture, again, that's reflective of our country.
Speaking to local news outlet WDIV Local 4, Avi doubled down on using the slur because it achieved his intended goal of drawing as much attention to his testimony as possible, later saying that he couldn't have gotten the meaning of his message across without using a racial slur. That should tell you all you need to know, not only about who Avi is, but the types of people doing the on-the-ground work to spread the conservative agenda. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.